Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, wanting to talk to you guys about something that's very, very serious that just happened in the real estate world. The Alexander brothers, who specialized in luxury real estate, have recently been, I believe it's convicted, if that's not the proper word, for unfortunately physically taking advantage of women for the past 20 years and also transporting females to other countries and other areas in order to physically take advantage of them as well. So I was trying to get more information out there to see what's going on. I do notice that most of it was outside of the real estate world as far as how they were getting the woman. However, there was one incident where it was at a real estate conference. And I'm not going to victim shame or anything like that because normally at conferences, that's not something that you expect to happen, right? But it's a possibility. So this is mainly geared towards women, but to be honest with you, something in my spirit says you men need to be careful too. Be careful no matter how well known a person is in your industry. Be careful being around them. A lot of times we are very trusting around people who are very successful. We think that they won't harm us. We think that they will take care of us. We put them on a pedestal. Sometimes we even idolize them as though they are celebrities. Yeah, no, they're not. Okay, they're not. And these men, from my understanding, it appears as though a lot of their wealth, a lot of their knowledge really came from the fact that their father was a real estate developer. It's not like a person like me whose father was not there. The only father I had was God, and that's it. And I'm standing on that. That's truth. Okay? But these guys, they had something extra. You can't compare your life to theirs um, because it's just not the same if you're coming up, especially if you come up from where I come from, okay, and have the background that I have. But I will say this, when you're going to conferences, especially if you go to a conference by yourself, and you guys know I've been to a couple conferences by myself, you have to be careful with how you conduct business and who you're around. I have to thank God that I have not been hurt because there have been instances where I could have been, but I wasn't. So I in no way, shape, nor form want to victim blame and say that the alleged victims should have been more careful. But I will say that moving forward, we all, both women and men, because these type of crimes also happen to men, but men are normally more quiet and normally don't come forward because when a man comes forward, a lot of times they are put down even lower than women are many times, you know? So here's what I'm going to say moving forward, what I'm going to do and what I advise other people to do who are starting off in the real estate world. And you go to these conferences. If somebody invites you to their room, say no. In conferences, yes, the conference room can be quite noisy and it can be busy, but normally there is somewhere outside of the conference room, like in the lobby, in front of the front desk staff, in front of security. Sometimes some hotels will have sitting rooms, or they'll even have like maybe a business office. Some of them have dining rooms and dining areas. And even if they don't have that, a lot of times there's maybe a restaurant that you can go to and you can sit there, or a cafe that might be connected to the hotel in it, or that might not be. Go there instead and have your discussion. Have your, if you can't do it that way, exchange phone numbers, set up a Zoom meeting, but do not go into anybody's room. I don't care how famous they are. I don't care how rich they are. We cannot make the assumption that we know them just because we read about them in the Real Deal magazine or in some newspaper, or seen them on YouTube or a TV show, or what have you, or because they work for a very reputable real estate firm. Please do not make that mistake. I personally do not trust all realtors and all brokers. Off the gate, off the bat, I do not. I've had some negative experiences with them. Multiple negative experiences with them. I will also say this. Again, I've been blessed. But when I was looking for a home, I went with my mother most of the time. Very rarely did I ever go by myself. The one time, well, actually, no, it was twice I went by myself. I went, and the realtor, she was an elderly lady. And then another time, the realtor, he was a middle-aged man, not not an American or anything like that. But even that, to be honest, was dangerous, because you're getting in their car 9 times out of 10. Some of you might have your own car, but in my case, I got in their car and they drove me around, and they could have driven me anywhere. You understand me? So go with the friends. When my friend bought her house, I went with her. It's always good to go with somebody. It's never really good to go by yourself, because why? You're normally very excited, especially if it's your first home, your first purchase. You're normally ecstatic, and there are things that you might overlook, but your friend, your family member, especially one that's not going to be living with you, they're not as excited as you. And they'll be able to see things and point things out to you that you might overlook because you're filled with a little bit too much joy, maybe. So that's one advice that I say. Also, when you go into some of these conferences, mention it to your friends, so that this way you're not there by yourself. But I understand sometimes you can't avoid it, because your friends are either not interested in going, or they just don't have the time to go. They got to take care of something else. So if you're going to go by yourself, please do not, when you meet somebody, please do not go in the room with them, into their, hotel room. Stay in a public space, okay? Because as you can see, one of the alleged victims met them at a real estate conference. And they basically said to her, oh, we would like to do business with you. Let's talk up in my room. No, we can talk in the lobby. We can talk in a restaurant. We can talk in a cafe. We can talk somewhere else. We don't need to go in your room for more privacy. And why do we need to be intimate? This is a business conference. No, we don't need to have no intimate conversations. Okay? Now, the other thing to note is, yes, they were working at Douglas Elliman at one point, but they went ahead and they opened their own company. I don't feel like there's enough evidence for me to say anything negative about Douglas Elliman. And honestly, I wouldn't necessarily, particularly at this point, fault them for anything. This information, it might be new to them. They probably didn't know. Douglas Elliman is a huge brokerage firm. They have offices all over pretty much. So no, even though they were the top tier when they were working there, I wouldn't necessarily put any blame on them at this particular point. Now, as far as the company that they started, they do have partners with other people. And it comes up again. When you are forming partnerships with people, you got to really know who it is that you're partnering with. And on top of that, even if you feel that you really do know this person, you need to make sure that the contract that you have, that there are certain provisions in them so that in case something like this happens, you know how to move or push the business forward. Now, these guys, from right now, what I don't really quite understand is why it is that they're only under house arrest when they have committed this crime supposedly for 20 some odd years and have multiple alleged victims. To me, when I compare this to, let's say, what P. Diddy is going through, because basically they're being charged for the same thing, I don't understand why it's just house arrest. I understand that they're saying that one of the brothers is having his first baby with his wife, and he would like to not only be in the house but be in the hospital. But I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't that put the nurses at jeopardy? I don't understand why that was approved. That doesn't make any sense to me. I know it's not the same judge that presided over Diddy's case, but something just doesn't sit right with my spirit at all when it comes to this. So, yeah. So this is what's happening. They said because of the transportation of people that they may be serving life and they may never get out, right? But then the partners that are over the business that they started, that they own, that reputation is hitting them. That reputation is hitting their business. And it's like, okay, well, now who wants to do business with these people? Did they know that their partners were involved in alleged illegal activity? Even though I'm not sure if I should say alleged anymore if they've been convicted. But anyway, that is something of concern. Can they go ahead and, let's say, change the name of the company? Or would the company have to dissolve and they start all over again? under a new name. And that's another thing that I find strange from the few things that I've looked at, is that everybody wants to look at Douglas Elliman, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, okay? I understand that, but not enough people, in my eyes, in my opinion, is looking at the company that they started and looking at the partners and questioning whether or not they had some activity, they had some involvement. How much did they know and how much did they not know as far as what was going on behind closed doors in these hotel rooms, in these luxury properties that they owned in Miami, in the Hamptons, in New York City, and elsewhere. That's what's on my mind. And that's what I wanted to relay to all of you who might also be interested in starting investing in real estate with someone else. How well do you know that person? And what provisions do you have in your contract when it comes to your partnership, partnering with that person? Because if you think that that reputation that they have won't affect you in some kind of way, then you are definitely in denial. And that's all I got to say on that. So, guys, anyway, I'd like to know what your opinions are. Are you following the case with these guys? How would you, moving forward, if you were to move forward, would you do business with a company that had partners who were involved in illegal activity? You understand me? And also, even if they were to start it all up again, like let's say dissolve the company and these partners were to start new companies, would you follow the partners to the new companies? Would you invest with them? Because believe me, when you do a background check on people, stuff like that does come up. That's not something that can really just go away and be erased. I know everybody doesn't do a background check, but for those of us who do, and we see that, I told you about the other guy that I saw and what came up on his report. Now we have this going on. Yeah, let me know what you think, okay, in the comments section. And don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button in case you are not subscribed to this channel, all right? Until next time, have a good night.